She was 8 years old when she heard for the first time, "People like us don't get those things." It wasn't said with anger. It was said with resignation, as if it were a natural fact, like saying that rain is wet. She didn't question it, because at 8 years old you don't question, you absorb. Years later, when opportunities appeared, something inside her said, "This isn't for me." It wasn't fear. It was certainty. It was as if it were an internal rule she couldn't question. She tried, took courses, read books, repeated affirmations, but nothing changed. Because you can't change something you don't recognize as a belief. You can only change something you recognize as reality. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're not going to try to change your beliefs. We're going to first recognize them. When you understand where it came from, the belief stops seeming like a law and becomes just a pattern, and that opens space to change. Because power doesn't come from force. It comes from understanding. This is the story of how beliefs are installed, and of how, when you understand the mechanism, you can begin to work with it, not against it. Most beliefs that limit you weren't chosen by you. They were absorbed during childhood when your brain was in accelerated development. At this stage, the brain works differently. It doesn't analyze. It absorbs. It doesn't question. It accepts, because it needs to learn quickly how the world works. And to do this efficiently, it absorbs everything as truth without filters. It's as if the child's brain said, "I need to learn fast. I don't have time to question. I'll absorb everything as truth, and then, if necessary, adjust." But many of these truths are never adjusted. They become the foundation. They become the base. And when something becomes the foundation, it's hard to change. Let me give you a specific example you probably recognize. Imagine a 5-year-old child. She's playing on the floor. The parents are talking about money. The mother says, "We don't have money for that." The father responds, "Money is hard to get." The child isn't paying conscious attention, but her brain is. It's absorbing, it's recording, and it's creating a connection. Money, difficult. This connection isn't an opinion, it's programming. It's a truth installed before the child even had words to question it. Years later, when this adult person tries to create prosperity, something inside her says, "Money is difficult." It's not a thought, it's a certainty. It's an installed reality. In a moment, I'll show you how to identify this in 2 minutes. But first, let's understand why this happens. Changing a belief creates discomfort because the brain prefers the familiar. When you feel resistance, just note it and continue. In youth, these beliefs are reinforced through experiences. A teenager gets a low grade in math. The brain creates a story. "I'm not good at math." This story repeats, and each repetition strengthens the neural connection until it becomes identity. It's no longer "I got a low grade," it's "I'm not good at math." It's "I'm the type of person who doesn't understand numbers." And when something becomes identity, it's even harder to change, because you're not trying to change a behavior. You're trying to change who you believe you are. In adult life, most beliefs aren't created. They're confirmed. You believe money is difficult, so you look for evidence that confirms this. And you find it, because the brain has a confirmation bias. It filters information that confirms what you already believe. You believe relationships are complicated, so you notice all the complicated relationships around you, and you don't notice the ones that work well, because your brain is filtering. This isn't your fault. It's how the brain works. It prefers to confirm what it already knows rather than learn something new. But when you understand this, you can begin to work with it, not against it. Now, here's the point almost no one realizes. Beliefs can be reprogrammed in adult life, but only in specific states of high emotional receptivity, states of emotional vulnerability, profound emotional impact, positive or negative, or conscious practices with congruent emotional feeling. In states of vulnerability, profound emotional impact, or conscious practice with involved feeling, the brain can reopen the door to reprogramming. Mechanical repetition doesn't reprogram beliefs. Repetition only works when accompanied by felt emotion, because emotion is what informs the brain that an experience is real and relevant. Without emotion, the brain treats repetition as noise. With emotion, it treats it as important information. Now let's move to the practical part, because understanding is important, but applying is transformative. The first technique is about recognition. Before changing any belief, you need to recognize it as a belief, not as reality. Bruce Lipton explains that beliefs are subconscious programs that operate below the level of consciousness. They work automatically without you needing to think about them. Here's how to do it. Step 1. Choose an area of your life where you feel stuck. It can be money, relationships, work, health, any area. Step 2. Observe your automatic thoughts about this area. When you think about it, what comes to mind first? Don't judge, just observe. Step 3. Ask yourself, is this a fact or a belief? Often, what you believe to be a fact is actually an installed belief. Step 4. Trace the origin. When did you start believing this? What happened? Who was present? How did you feel? Step 5. Recognize that this is a belief, not an absolute truth. This creates space, and in that space a new belief can be born. Specific example, you believe that money is hard to get. Scenario, you're thinking about asking for a raise. Immediately, a thought arises. They won't accept. Money is hard to get. Internal dialogue. Is this a fact or a belief? It's a belief. When did I start believing this? When I was a child, I heard my parents talking about financial difficulties. How did I feel? Anxious, insecure. This is an installed belief, not an absolute truth. Common mistake. People try to change the belief immediately without first recognizing it completely. This creates resistance. Instead, recognize first, then choose a new belief. Success criterion. You can observe the belief without completely identifying with it. You can say, I have this belief instead of this is true. The second technique is about creating new emotional states that support the new belief. Neville Goddard taught that you must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But he also taught that you must start from where you are, not from where you want to be. Here's how to do it. Step 1. After recognizing the old belief, choose a more accessible emotion first. If you're feeling scarcity, don't try to force abundance. Choose relief first. Choose security first. Step 2. Feel this emotion in your body. Don't think about it. Feel it. Where do you feel relief? What does this sensation feel like? Allow it to spread. Step 3. When you're really feeling this emotion, repeat the new belief. For example, money flows to me with ease. But repeat it while feeling relief, not while feeling scarcity. Step 4. Do this consistently. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be consistent, because it's through consistency that new patterns form. Step 5. Observe small changes. Don't expect immediate transformation. Observe small signs that something is changing. Specific example. 1. You recognize the belief, money is difficult. Scenario. You're sitting, breathing deeply. You feel a slight tension in your chest when you think about money. Internal dialogue. I'm feeling tension. This is the old belief manifesting. Now, I'll choose to feel relief. What does relief feel like? It's a sensation of release, of lightness. I allow this sensation to spread. Now, while feeling relief, I repeat, I'm becoming someone who deals with money more easily. Make specific example 2. You recognize the belief relationships are complicated. Scenario, you're thinking about meeting someone new. Immediately, a thought arises. It will go wrong. Relationships are complicated. Internal dialogue. I'm feeling anxiety. This is the old belief. Now I'll choose to feel security. What does security feel like? It's a sensation of calm, of stability. I allow it to spread. Now, while feeling security, I repeat, relationships can be simple and natural for me. Common mistake. People try to force elevated emotions when they're in low states. This creates resistance. Instead, choose a more accessible emotion first. Climb gradually. Success criterion. You can feel the new emotion while repeating the new belief, even if it's just for a few seconds. Over time, these seconds become minutes, and the minutes become your natural state. The third technique is about creating evidence that supports the new belief. The brain needs evidence to change, but it also filters evidence based on what you already believe. So you need to create evidence consciously. Here's how to do it. Step 1. Identify small actions that support the new belief. If the new belief is, money flows to me, an action could be, I'll save $10 this week. It doesn't need to be big. It needs to be consistent. Step 2. Execute the action. Don't wait to feel like it. Execute, even without the desire, because action creates emotion, not the other way around. Step 3. Observe the result. When you save $10, this is evidence that you can manage money. This supports the new belief. Important. Action without adjustment can become self-punishment. If you force yourself to save $100 when 10 is already a challenge, you're creating evidence of difficulty, not ease. Small action plus recorded evidence is more powerful than big action plus frustration. Step 4. Record this evidence. Write it down. Today I saved $10. This shows I can manage money. It doesn't need to be elaborate. It needs to be clear. Step 5. Review this evidence regularly. When the old belief arises, reread your evidence. This helps the brain create new connections. Specific example. New belief. Money flows to me with ease. Scenario. You decide to save $10 this week. You don't feel like it, but you do it anyway. Internal dialogue. I don't feel like saving, but I'll do it anyway, because action creates emotion. When I save these $10, this will be evidence that I can manage money. This supports my new belief. Result, you save the $10. You write, I saved $10. This shows I can manage money. Money flows to me. Common mistake. People wait for big evidence before starting. But small evidence is more powerful because it's easier to create consistently. Start small. Build gradually. Success criterion. You can create at least one small piece of evidence per week that supports the new belief. Over time, this evidence accumulates and strengthens the new belief. Now let's integrate these techniques into your real life. Belief change takes time and consistent practice. Be patient but persistent. Expect resistance. It's normal. When it comes, recognize it, breathe, and continue practicing. Start small. Choose one belief, the most important one right now. Focus on it. Create a 5-minute morning ritual. Observe, recognize, choose an accessible emotion, feel while repeating the new belief. Record your evidence in a simple notebook. This helps your brain create new connections. We've reached the end of this exploration. What you've learned here is a way to work with your brain, not against it. Now you know how beliefs are installed and how they can be reprogrammed. You have the tools. Recognize beliefs, create new emotional states, create evidence that supports new beliefs. But remember, this doesn't replace therapy, medicine, or professional counseling. It's a practice of attention, emotion, and behavior. Use wisely. Now a challenge, choose one belief. Do step 1 today. Recognize it as a belief, not as truth. Record one piece of evidence by Sunday, a small action that supports the new belief. If this helped you, you can save this video and return to this practice when you need it. If you want to go deeper, I've left organized material in the pinned comment. It's optional. See you in the next video.